Greetings, my fellow decrepits, invalids, and other sick people. I hope you're doing well today and that you're fighting the good fight. So I've been absent from social media and YouTube for a little bit now, and I wanted to kind of talk about why and what's been going on in my life. But before we get into that, if you enjoy the content we make on this channel, please feel free to give a smack to that like button or ring a ding ding to that notification bell, and maybe consider subscribing and sharing this content with your friends. So without further ado, let's get into the video. All right, so where have I been the last week or so? Well, I've mostly been resting. I've been in bed a fair amount. I've been on the couch and just not doing a whole lot. I had a bit of a downward churn this last week. My doctor would call it a crash, where I've done too much activity, or I've pushed myself to beyond my limits, and then my symptoms kind of flare up. So I've been kind of in recovery mode. I'm finally starting to feel mostly back to at least where I was. I still don't feel normal. Normal was a year and a half ago, so I'm still waiting on that. But I'm feeling at least back to where I was, which is a huge blessing. I'm grateful to be stabilized again. So, but I want to talk about what I did about a little over a week ago, I guess, probably a week and a half ago by the time this video is posted. I was out, I was really excited. I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan. Anyone who knows me, they know that is like my favorite book series and my favorite film series. I am just a huge Lord of the Rings fan. I think Tolkien probably created the most immersive and well-crafted fictional universe that's ever been created. Just love his world. I love everything he's done. His work has inspired me in so many ways in my own life, and just a huge fan of Lord of the Rings. So why am I bringing that up? Well, I'm bringing that up because about a week and a half ago, Lord of the Rings was the films were re-released into theaters for a little while, and I was excited. I was like, well, I want to go. I love these movies. When they came out, I was a kid, and so I didn't see them in the theaters. And so I have slowly been trying to see these films in the movie theater when they are re-released. So I went to go with my my dad, my wife, and my sister. We went to go see Fellowship of the Ring. Great movie. And so we went in. I was super excited. I was feeling pretty good on this particular day. I got into the movie theater and was all excited. I had some Reese's Pieces for my snack. I'm not huge on popcorn, so I got Reese's Pieces. And was sitting down, enjoying the movie. But very quickly, things started to switch for me. Very, very suddenly, my symptoms started to kick in and flare up. I started to feel very foggy. I was kind of having trouble focusing on the movie and started to get very on edge, kind of twitchy and a little bit nauseous and just not feeling good. And I kept telling myself that it was just going to, it was going to pass. I was going to get through it. And that I just had to get through a little hurdle. I was using my Calm Carry that I've talked about before on the channel. It always helps kind of calm down my nervous system a little bit. But the movie kept going on, and I kept feeling worse and worse. And finally, I looked to my wife and I said, "Hey, can I have the keys to the car? I gotta go lay down." And so I walked out of Lord of the Rings about 45 minutes into the movie. I left the theater. I didn't feel good. I went and laid down in the car, and I kept telling myself that if I just laid there for a little while, I was gonna be able to go back in and finish the movie. And it never happened. I just didn't feel good. I didn't feel like I could make it back in. And so I actually ended up talking to my mom, and she came and picked me up because Lord of the Rings is nearly almost a 4-hour movie. So it was either sit in the car for another 3 hours or go home. So I went home. To anyone who knows me, leaving a Lord of the Rings movie, I think, is a pretty clear sign that I'm not feeling good. It was definitely frustrating. As I've been dealing with chronic fatigue for a year and a half now, you lose so many pieces of your life, especially so many social aspects. There were so many things that I just don't really get to partake in anymore. I recently missed out on a family wedding as well, just because I didn't think my body could take it. And I think I was probably right, especially based on this movie. But it's been just very frustrating, very humbling to have to say no to moments like this. It's very weird for me to look at the situation and say that a movie was too much for me. Now, I want to say too, I've watched plenty of movies at home in the last year and a half, and I'll get to why I think the movie affected me the way it did in a moment. But it's just a movie, and it's something that for so many millions of people, billions of people for that matter, around the world, just go watch movies. It's just something we do as part of our culture. And I know that seeing movies in theaters has definitely gone downhill as far as attendance. I don't go as much as we used to, but this was kind of something special, and I wanted to go. But it's frustrating when your symptoms deprive something from your life that is just a simple, ordinary, everyday activity that you just want to enjoy with family and friends. And when that piece is taken from your life, it kind of just takes a toll on you, and in the sense that there's so many things I feel like I want to do, but I can't do. And so definitely a little frustrating coming out of that. Obviously, I can still watch the movies at home, and I'll probably have to do that here soon just to kind of make up for it. But yeah, so that's kind of where I've been. Now, let me talk about why I think the movie had an effect on me. So with chronic fatigue, I remember one of the things that the doctor at Stanford who specializes in chronic fatigue, one thing she had told me was that oftentimes stimulation of any kind can make your symptoms worse with chronic fatigue. Essentially, I'm dealing with kind of an inflamed nervous system, from what I understand. And extra sound, extra light, extra, just like loud noises can have a big impact on my body's response right now to everything. And so there are times I've noticed, like if my kid yells really loud, it affects me a lot more than it ever would have, a year and a half ago. I just kind of like feel a little jolt in my body, and I think the loud noises affect me a lot. Now, I want to be clear, I'm young, okay? So noise shouldn't affect me that much, but I also used to be a drummer. I used to play drums for, you could ask my mom, probably, dozens and dozens of hours every single week. Loud noises have never bothered me. But in the last year and a half, noise has had a big impact on me. And so I think that in the movie theater, when you have the giant screen and the huge speakers, I think all that stimulation was too much for my body. And I know for a fact there were a couple moments in the movie, if anyone's seen Lord of the Rings, that there's the characters, the ring wraiths. And the ring wraiths are kind of known in the films, at least, for this like blood-curdling scream that they have. It's just a super high-pitched wail. And I remember in the movie a couple times that when the ring wraiths let out their scream, it really kind of like jolted my body, and I had a hard time like taking in that sound, and which is just weird because I've seen these movies so many times. I've never had that effect, but I think it was just the overstimulation of the movie theater experience. So that's kind of what happened. That's why I've been out, and sadly, that 45 minutes in the movie theater, it has taken me about a week to recover from. I spent several days basically in bed after 45 minutes in the movie theater. And again, I felt fine leading into the movie. I felt fine going into it. And I just went downhill super fast. And so I don't know, that was kind of my experience. I know that was kind of a long little rant story, but I wanted to share what's been going on. I also wanted to ask, if you're watching this video, and if you happen to have chronic fatigue or any other health issues, have you noticed anything similar to that? And have you noticed any issues with loud noises or just like excessive stimulation? And how does that affect your health? Or even if you're a healthy person, do you find those excessive stimuli to affect you in certain ways? If they do, please leave a comment down below. I'd love just to kind of hear your thoughts on the matter and how things affect you. Now, obviously, after going through this week, I had to do a little bit of research online, just looking into the effects of noise on chronic fatigue. I didn't find a whole lot specifically related to chronic fatigue, but there are actually a lot of studies out there just about how noise pollution and loud noises just tend to have an effect on our body, and it's generally considered to be quite negative. There's a article I'm going to link below for Psychology Today, and it kind of just broke down a study. I believe it was in Europe. Don't quote me on that. It's been a little bit since I read it, but they were just talking about the effects of excessive stimuli on the nervous system. And you think about it, our ears pick up so much information throughout the day, especially in the modern world. We have audiobooks, cars, radio, TV, computers, all day long. We seem to not only be glued to our phones on our eyes, but we constantly have stimuli going into our ears as well. And I think historically, humans, I think we had a lot more quiet time, and we are just constantly inundating ourselves with more and more stimuli. And I think that all that noise has a negative effect on our health. And so it's something I'm learning. This is something that I've never, not once in my life, even really worried about until, this health issue. But it's just kind of interesting. So again, if you have any thoughts on, I kind of hate using the word noise pollution, but if you have any thoughts on noise pollution, or just, how excessive noise affects our body, let me know in the comments. If you have any great articles that I should read, feel free and leave them down below too. So it's just kind of been interesting, and I want to hear what you guys think. All right, one of the last things I want to talk about is, well, what do we do about all this noise pollution, and what do we do to help ourselves? Well, I think a big piece of that, obviously, is just getting quiet time and getting time to ourselves. One thing my doctor in Stanford prescribed to me is something that she calls true rest. And true rest is putting on noise-canceling headphones and putting on a sleep mask. And so I use those two tools to cancel out stimulation. And so clearly, in her mind, there's a link between noise and rest for our body. And I think that it's hard for our bodies to rest when we have just constant noise going. Right now, even when I'm sleeping, it's summertime now, so I got our AC unit making noise in our bedroom. Sometimes we'll have white noise going on, and then we also have like a baby monitor going. And so just in our bedroom alone, we've got, all these different noises going on. And I guess to me, it's just crazy when you stop and think about it. There really is so much noise that we have just going constantly. And so our job needs to be to try and reduce noise in as many ways as possible. So this week I've tried to turn off my sound machine and sleep without that, because there's enough noise going on. Another key aspect is this concept of being still. A lot of times you'll walk into like a Hobby Lobby or a craft store, and you'll see all kinds of artwork and signs that say, "Be still," which is great. I think my only problem with these signs is that they're quoting something from the Bible, and they're leaving out the entirety of it. And so I wanted to just briefly read where that term "be still" comes from, and then talk about how we can apply it to our lives. So that term "be still" comes from Psalm 46. And I'm going to read, the "be still" is in verse 10, but I'm going to start in verse 8 just to give a little bit of context. So in verse 8, it starts by saying, "Come, behold the works of the Lord, who has made desolations in the earth. He makes wars cease to the end of the earth. He breaks the bow and cuts the spear in two. He burns the chariot in the fire." So we're starting in this context of how great God is and how he's ending the wars, he's breaking the bow and splitting the spear in two, So in that context, we say, or it goes on to say, "Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth." And then verse 11, it concludes with, "The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge." So I just want to give some context to that, because I don't think there's anything wrong, obviously, with simply sitting and being still. I'm not saying that, the secular world can't use the term "be still," but I do just want to talk about, like, this is where it comes from. And for the Christian like myself, I think that there's a huge piece of being still that I think we neglect so much in our modern life, and that we should be taking time to sit and think of our Creator and think of Him and all the good works He's done in our lives. Even for me, through this year and a half of challenges, there's been so many things that God has done for myself and my family. He's done through our friends and family, and it's been amazing to see. And I think that we don't often, myself included, I don't take enough time to stop and be still and truly reflect on these things and truly find my rest and refuge in Christ. And so if you're watching this, I just hope that that little piece there can be an encouragement to you and a reminder as well as it is to me. And as we go through our weeks, both you and I encourage us to work on finding time to be still. If you're a believer, be still and find time in Christ. If you're not a believer, well, I'd still encourage you to find time to be still in Christ, but at the very least, find some time just to shut off some stimuli, to be still and get a little break from our noise. All right, and if you stuck around to the end of the video, I just want to say thank you so much for your time, and thank you for continuing this conversation of health with me. And I really would appreciate it if you would share this video with your friends, and please consider subscribing. I'm really trying to get to 50 subscribers. I've got 5 to go, and it'd be a cool little milestone for me to hit, just to hit that 50 mark. So without further ado, again, thank you so much for being here. God bless you, my friend. I pray that you continue to fight the good fight, and we will see you next time. Adios.